Instead of using many appliances over the years, just use one to consume less and save more. Miele products are designed to last for 20 years. That's quality ahead of its time. Miele, immer besser.
Hi there, my name is Mark Healy, Studio Director of Bates Smart Architects, and today I'll be presenting the Gandel Wing, a state-of-the-art medical facility in the suburb of Malvern in Melbourne, Australia. Bates Smart has had a long history with our client Cabrini Health and have been working on the campus intermittently for over 40 years. The building is an acute clinical services building made up of predominantly inpatient units over 7 levels, with 1 level of oncology treatment chairs on level 4, 3 levels of basement car parking and a radiation therapy bunker on B4. Key clinical links expand existing services to the emergency department on ground, cardiac services on level 1, maternity and birthing on level 2, and geriatric and oncology treatment on level 4 and 3 and 4 respectively. It's a hospital campus which has deep ties to the community, illustrated by the fact that 1/3 of the total construction cost was raised directly through donation. The building is intended to redefine the future of healthcare at Cabrini Health, but also acknowledge the past through unifying the campus through a contemporary reinterpretation of the tan brick that defines much of the original clinical buildings. The result was a refined terracotta screen facade that responds directly to the internal planning of the interior, with large open-ended corridors and horizontal baguette screens that gently fold, opening to the view lines of the patient in bed. The gesture of the veil creates a very private reading of the building from outside, something we were very mindful of given the building sits within a low-scale neighborhood context. But internally, the complete opposite is true. The experience of one is of expansiveness and connection to the outdoors. In some ways, this is the true innovation of the architecture. The DNA of the Gandel Wing was formed in a project which immediately preceded it, where we tested out spaces that elevated the patient or visitor experience at key moments, bringing them closer to and making them more aware of nature at every opportunity. This idea was transformative for our client, and the response from all that use these spaces confirmed our thinking that simple interventions can have dramatic results, not only for the people experiencing the space, but also for the organization's bottom line. Our design team and our client together had formed a coherent and aligned vision to create a clinical experience that was entirely about creating health, a true salutogenic response. Here at Bates Smart, we employ principles with designing for healing spaces that are influenced by the thinking of Antonovsky, which is all about mitigating effects of stressors in our environment. We design space so hopefully patients and carers can intuit the built environment and do so safely with a variety of amenity. This creates a level of normality to the often foreign world of the clinical realm and ultimately enhances the sense that the patient is in control of their own destiny. The guiding principles of this project, the intuitive spaces. We maximize the variety of amenity spaces on the floor. This plan showing the maternity level on level 2 allowed for semi-social spaces with views to the surrounding gardens in between clusters of rooms, carers' pantry and an education space, outdoor courtyards and balcony spaces to support the clinical function. Large corner rooms with a variety of furniture catered for family gatherings, and an education space with views over the entrance courtyard was visible through a series of vertical screens, maintaining the privacy of the adjacent inpatient rooms. We created natural gathering spaces at each staff station to encourage a safe and democratic place to discuss face-to-face from the workstation zone and become a natural hub for certain nursing staff. The concept of acquiescing to the patient more control over their physical environment was a key goal of this project. It was achieved through hinged switchable eyeglass screens in treatment spaces that allowed patients to determine their own boundaries, and simple furniture settings encouraged the sharing of experience among the carers. This pod arrangement that encouraged a sense of community has become one of the key successes of the project. Thoughtful detailing concealed clinical equipment and created opportunities for personal display. We balanced the increased infection control requirements of the oncology department with the more overt hints to the domestic realm through beautiful Murano glass light fittings positioned next to each chair to provide a focal point of hope. This thinking continued to the rooms, creating positive and uplifting rooms and constant dialogue with nature through the interplay of light and shadow, distant views, and fresh air through operable windows. Large monitors with integrated cameras were set into vertical glass panels at the end of the bed and allowing families to keep in constant dialogue through the pandemic when visitation was limited. And an elevated sense of detail in the paneling was provided given the extended periods of time patients spent in this space. We ensured the pelmet detail was recessed and radiused to maximize patients' view and celebrate the simple quality of light falling on soft plaster form. We strove to find a balance between a sense of enclosure and safety and the sense of control that expansive views seem to afford us. Tinted sliding glass screens concealed clinical services panels whilst maintaining functionality, and details in bespoke joinery ensured spills were captured, and local lighting designers created bespoke light fittings above the bed, adding a sense of craft, combining to create a simple, quiet place for the body to heal. The colour of light was another key aspect we challenged through a strong evidence base. We shifted the colour temperature on all non-essential lighting elements to a more restful 3000 K to ensure patients' quality of rest was enhanced. Critical spaces celebrated the calmness and professionality of our medical practitioners and the extraordinary equipment they seemed to be able to master. And every detail was interrogated to ensure the patient's experience was prioritised to negate the visual noise of medical paraphernalia, and at the same time maintaining the highest level of functionality. Technology was carefully integrated to promote the ease of use and simplifying the interface with the patient. So thanks for listening. I'm going to leave it there and finish with a quote from the CEO of Cabrini Health that came out of a podcast interview I conducted with him, which kind of sums up everything we set out to do. Thanks again for this opportunity to present, and it's a real shame we're unable to be together in Lisbon.
Thank you so much. We're going to have to scamper along with our questions. Martin, could you be brief in your answers? I'm going to ask Oliver to kick off this time.
Okay, a quick question. I mean, who wouldn't want to be ill here? I mean, what a beautiful environment. My one question is, I'm just trying to, this is private healthcare, and I'm just wondering what the relative spend on this versus a public health thing. I'm just trying to work out what the kind of factor is in terms of increase in spend over a typical public health facility.
Well, I mean, I think from just given its criticality in terms of its location from a neighbourhood perspective, there was an uplift obviously in the facade, and creating this very private space was critical. So yeah, there was an uplift there, which, you know, in Australia we'd be looking at probably 15 to 1800 square meters dollars per square meter for a facade. In this case, we were up to about 3,000. So there needed to be, just given their locality, there needed to be an additional layer of, I guess, spend with regard to that. But from an internal perspective, it wasn't a great deal. So it was probably about sort of 10 to 15% more than a public hospital facility. Still,
that's amazing.
Simply, still basic vinyl and laminates and carpet tile. So
that's all the more impressive then. Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Johnny.
Thank you. I love the details. I think in a way you have managed to break through the status quo of what a hospital is, and so it should be very well celebrated. Congratulations. I imagine this breakthrough, there must be a lot of negotiations and challenges with the clients. So I'd like to understand about those and how you have overcome it.
Well, that's why I guess I spent so much time kind of establishing that relationship that we had with this organization for so many years. So there was an enormous amount of trust, plus that project that preceded it, preceded the Gandel wing, really sort of highlighted to this group that actually enhancing a physical environment actually has a dramatic effect to the pleasure of everyone coming to this. It was actually the maternity and obstetrics and gynecology department, which just because of their sort of uplift in the environment, they realized that everyone going to that consulting group wanted to actually have their babies at Cabrini. So they saw this market spike in and people wanting to come to this facility because of the internal environment or the sense of professionality perhaps that we sort of afforded it. So I think and we just got the trust. That we had trust, and we got given very simple goals like the falling issue which they had, and then just continue on this process of just enhancing every element of their experience. And we wanted to make sure that it was every decision was seen through the patient's sort of through the lens of the patient first and foremost. And the clinical staff really had to move around that. But essentially, we've been doing this, we've been championing this type of healthcare for a long time now. And so I think from our ability to be able to detail and understand what needs to happen, I think that's gone a long way.
So this isn't the first one. This isn't the first healthcare building that you've done, then?
Oh no, not whatsoever. No. I've done a lot of. I do mostly public health, large scale public healthcare. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move on to Yale.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation, and really it's a great place, as mentioned already. If you fall ill, you're there. It's very comforting. But I wanted to know better how if you have to circulate from your bedroom to the planted fresh air areas, which actually we saw one slide, but I was not sure how easy it is to move from your bed or bedroom to the areas where you have the planted fresh air area. I could see that it's very beautifully from the bedrooms. We can see the long views outside, but how easy is to get actually to the...
Yeah, I mean, we typically we had the opportunity. Obviously, there was limited site, so we did set it back to obviously align with this building and to set it within that garden setting, which the master plan sort of outlines. But it was really these spaces between the south block, which exists around about here. We really tried to maximize the opportunities at these points of juncture between the two buildings, these interstitial spaces. So there was a limited amount of, this is on the maternity level, obviously, on level 2. So there was a balcony space and an outdoor garden space, which we were able to access. But everything else essentially was about a view as opposed to a physical experience. So on level 2 is the only real opportunity we had for outdoor space.
For outdoor space. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Manuel. Yes,
thank you very much for this presentation and this beautiful building. I just have a quick question. Did you integrate the sustainable value of the furniture and the materials in your design, and for example, in which precise elements?
Can you say that again? I didn't get that first bit. Sorry.
Yeah. Did you integrate the sustainable quality of the materials that you integrate into the interior design? And can you give some examples? For example, the wood.
Do we integrate? I mean, I think in the previous project, we really came up with a kind of I guess a DNA of material and detail, which in the other project previously, we used a timber, but we used a darker timber. It was a much more sort of professional environment. This was a softer, warmer environment. But much of the kind of the neutral tones and the actual elements, the furniture, was just a continuation of what we established in the previous project. So we wanted to really create I guess, a suite of finishes and a strategy around that. Which really we want to now keep continuing through the whole hospital. So it's very simple. It's kind of timber laminate, which we're able to lay up in certain sort of degree of detail, as you can see here. But essentially everything is of now a kind of a suite of finishes, a suite of furniture that really is just going to hopefully continue throughout the rest of the hospital over time. I hope I asked your question.
Yeah.
So it's my turn now. You're obviously experienced in this field. Firstly, it is beautiful, especially the inside. I find the outside relatively low key compared with the inside, but that's perfect because we're discussing interiors today. When the image of the CAT scanner came up, I thought you could have designed that too, because it was a very similar language. I was wondering whether the CAT scanner or other medical equipment had actually influenced what you made the environments be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. Not so much. I mean, I think we've always been sort of thinking about, and this sort of tells the story really about those kind of simple white plaster forms and how light or how reflected light sits.
It's a very sort of fluidly. There are no interruptions or disruptions in your environment, and there's no art anywhere. Is that a conscious choice to sort of keep any visual stimulation down to a minimum?
I think that's part of it, but there is art in in one of the family spaces. But in terms of patient spaces, we really wanted to encourage that connection to nature, or make people more aware of nature, make people more aware of natural light. And the interplay of shadow and light, and that's kind of we want to set that sort of very clean bar.
Well, Martin,
anything that
it's very, very clean, and I would love to be sick there. Thank you so much. A beautiful project. We are out of time, as Toby knows all too well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.